Hello and welcome back. And in this video, we're going to be talking about LongPress Gesture. So let's go ahead and get started. What we're going to do is, in this case, we're going to create a image, and we're going to zoom it in when user long presses on that image. Okay, so we're going to see how that gesture actually works with this example. So in order to start, we're going to actually first create a state variable to capture the scale factor. So we're going to say at state private var scale factor cg float as 1. Okay, that's going to be our starting point. And here we're going to simply create an image. I have image of drinks, so I'm going to use that with resizable clip shape. So we can actually clip shape here. Although I want to actually add a border, so let's define the frame first. So let's define a frame with width as 200 and height as 200, and then the scale factor, scale effect with scale factor into it, and we're gonna give it a clip shape circle, and we're gonna add a border around it. So let's add an overlay of circle. Line with 4 and shadow as radius as 20. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look what we've got so far. So I'm going to open the canvas and resume our build process, and there we go. This is what we have. So we can actually make it 300 so it looks a little bit better. Okay, that's good. All right, now we are ready to add our gesture to it, so we can simply say gesture. Okay, and here we're going to say long press gesture. Right, long press gesture takes minimum duration and maximum distance. Basically, how long user presses and how long the distance it can cover, basically, before you negate that long press gesture. So we're gonna just care about minimum duration. So you're gonna say minimum duration is 1 second, okay? And on ended, we're gonna say we need to perform some action. All right. And here we're gonna basically update our scale factor, and you're gonna say scale factor is gonna be 1.5 times. All right. With that, we are ready. So okay. So if I long press right now, you notice that our image actually zooms in, but it's rather abrupt. So let's give it an animation. Going to use our simple animation block or modifier, and we're going to run it again. And there we go. So as you can see, it's actually zooms in very nicely. All right. So with that, that's actually how long press works. But I want to introduce you to something else as well. So if you notice, our gesture is fine. It actually zooms in. But what if you want to zoom it back, right? I mean, what if you want to reset it after a certain time? Well, there are two options. You can actually create another state and check when the gesture has ended. After a certain time, you can actually move it back. There are various different scenarios, but there is one specific property wrapper that I want to talk about here, and this is a great opportunity to talk about it. It's called gesture state. Okay, so with gesture state, SwiftUI basically creates this specific property wrapper that has the sole responsibility is to basically track the state of gesture. Okay, so it's defined as at gesture state. So you simply say at gesture state. You still create private variables. Its life cycle or its longevity is to your view again. Same things apply as the state itself, but there is a special property that it comes with that state does not have. It actually takes an initial value. So when the gesture ends, it could actually reset your view to that initial value that you have provided. So for example, in our case, the problem that we were trying to solve was that we want to, after a user is done, like interacting with the image, we want to zoom it back or scale it back to its original state. Now, to restore that state, we can actually use gesture state to capture that initial value, and when our gesture ends, we can actually simply reset it back to its original scale. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look how we can actually achieve that. So for scale effect, what we're going to do is we're going to say check for long pressed here, and if it is true, then change it to 1.5%. Otherwise, keep it 1. Okay, for the scale. All right. For the gesture, we're gonna still say long press gesture, but instead of on ending or ended, we're gonna say updating. Updating. Okay. Updating takes the gesture state, so this is where we're gonna provide or bind our long press, and it gives us 3 values. So now these 3 values are important. So these values change depending upon what kind of gesture you are binding that updating to. So for example, for long press case, it's going to be Boolean. For drag case, it's going to be basically the translations, like how much drag has happened and stuff like that. So basically, it actually is a context sensitive and gives you the current data for that state of the gesture, right? State is basically an in and out. So this second parameter is state. That's in and out value of our property. So rather than reading this long gesture over and over, we actually read the current state. Okay, we read this internal state for the gesture, right? And then you have transaction. That's actually like the animation context, and it has like some information in it, like transient animations or continuous animations and stuff like that. So we're not going to be really interacting with that, so we just kind of leave that one alone. But we can just say value, state, and transaction, like so. And in our case, what we're going to do is we're simply going to say that state is equal to value. Okay? And that actually brings us back to the initial value when the interaction is done. So if I go ahead and resume this, you're going to notice that when we interact, our view resets back after a certain time to its original state. All right? So that's actually it for long press gesture. Now, there's one thing I want to talk about, like, that's really important. I have talked about it, like, certain times in previous videos, where order in CTI is important. Where you're applying your modifier is important, because order of the modifier defines how your view is going to be behaving. Now, same goes for gesture recognizers, because gesture recognizer, as it happened, tab gesture and long press gesture are very much similar in nature. It's just the duration is different. So when you have tab gesture defined as first modifier and then long press, that would actually work. But if you have your long press defined first and your tab gesture defined as a second modifier, it might not work. So, I mean, it'll not work actually, not might. There is no question about it. The tab gesture is not going to be recognized. So you've got to be careful, like, if you're adding both of those gesture recognizers on your view, you got to keep in mind that tab gesture is going to come as first gesture, and then long press is going to be after that, right? Hope that would clear some confusion, and that'll prevent you from some unforeseen bugs. But yeah, this is it for this video. Thanks again for watching.